Welcome to Vedantha Bhakti Pravachanam channel. In the journey of Sai Satcharitra, we have seen 9 chapters regarding Sai Baba's Satcharitra. In the chapter number 10, Sai Baba's mode of life, his sleeping boat, his stay in Shirdi, and all those things we will listen and will get the knowledge about Sai Baba. Remember him always with love, for he was engrossed in doing good to all and always abided in himself. To remember him only it is to solve the riddle of life and death. This is the best and easiest way of sadhana, and it involves no expenditure. A little extension here brings great rewards. So as long as our senses are sound, we should minute by minute practice this sadhana. All other gods are illusory. Guru is the only God. If we believe in Sadguru's holy feet, he can change our fortune for the better. If we serve him nicely, we get rid of our samsara. We need not study any philosophy like the Nyaya and the Mimamsa. If we make him our helmsman, we can easily cross over the sea of all our pains and sorrows. As we trust the helmsman in crossing rivers and seas, as so we have to trust Sadguru in getting over the ocean of worldly existence. The Sadguru looks to the intense feeling and devotion of his devotees, endows them with knowledge and eternal bliss. In the last chapter, Baba's penitency and devotees' experiences and other subjects are dealt with. Let the readers now hear where and how Baba lived, how he slept, and how he taught, etc. Baba's wonderful bedstead. Let us first see where and how Baba was slept. Mr. Nana Sahib Dengle brought for Sai Baba a wooden plank about 4 arms in length and only a span in breadth for sleeping upon. Instead of keeping the plank on the floor and then sleeping on it, Baba tied in it like a swing to the rafters of the masjid with old shreds or rags and commenced to sleep upon it. The rags were so thin and worn out that it was a problem how they could bear or support even weight of the plank itself, let alone the weight of Baba. But somehow or other, it was Baba's sheer leela that the worn out rags and it did sustain the plank. Baba lighted panitis one at each other and kept them burning the whole night. It was a sight for the gods to see Baba sitting or sleeping on the plank. It was a wonderful to all how Baba get up and down to the plank. Out of curiosity, many careful observers kept watching the process of mounting and dismounting, but none succeeded. As crowds began to swell so to detect this wonderful feat, Baba one day broke the plank into pieces and threw it away. Baba had all 8 siddhas and his command. He never practiced nor carved for them. They came to him naturally as a result of his perfection. Second Manifesto of Brahma. Though Sai Baba looked like a man, 3 cubits and a half in length, still he dwelled in the hearts of all. Inwardly, he was unattached and indifferent, but outwardly he longed for public welfare, inwardly most disinterested. He looked outwardly full of desires for the sake of his devotees, though inwardly an abode of peace. He looked outwardly restless, inwardly at the state of Brahma. Outwardly he acted like a devil, inwardly he loved Advaita. Outwardly he got entangled with the world. Sometimes he looked on all with affection, and at times he threw stones at them, sometimes he scolded them, while at times he embraced them and was calm, composed, tolerant and well balanced. He always abided and was engrossed in the self and was well disposed towards his bhaktas. He always sat on asan and never travelled. His dand was a small stick which he always carried in his hand. He was a calm being, thought-free. He never cared for wealth and fame and lived on begging. Such a life he led. He always uttered Allah Malik. Entire and unbroken was his love all the bhaktas. He was the mine or storehouse for self-knowledge and full of divine and bliss. Such was the divine from Sai Baba, that boundless, endless and undifferentiated. One principle was envelopes the whole reality. Meritoriously and fortune people get the treasure grow in their hands. while those people who, not knowing the real worth of Sai Baba, took or take him to be a man, a mere human being, were and were indeed miserable. His stay in Shirdi and probable birth date. None knew or knows the parents and the exact birth date of Sai Baba. It can be approximately determined by his stay in Shirdi. Baba first came to Shirdi when he was a young lad of 16 and stayed there for 3 years. Then all of a sudden he disappeared for some time. After some time he reappeared in the Nizam state near Aurangabad and again came to Shirdi with the marriage party of Chand Patil when he was 20 years old. Then he stayed in Shirdi for an unbroken period of 60 years, after which Baba took his Mahasamadhi in the year 1918. From this we can say that the era of Baba's birth is approximately 1838 AD. Saint Ramadas flourished in the 17th century and fulfilled to a great extent the mission of protecting cows and Brahmins against the Avras. But within 2 centuries after him, the split between the two communities, Hindus and Mohammedans, widened again, and Sai Baba came to bridge the gulf. His constant advice to all to this effect: Rama and Rahim were one and the same. There was not the slightest difference between them. Then why should their devotees fall out the quarrel among themselves? Ye ignorant folk, children, join hands and bring both the communities together. Act samely, and thus you will gain your object of national unity. It is not good as dispute to argue. So don't argue, don't emulate others. Always consider your interest and welfare. The Lord will protect you. Yoga, sacrifice, penance and knowledge are the means to attain God. If you do not succeed in this by any means, vain is your birth. If one does any evil unto you, do not retaliate. If you can do anything, do some good unto others. This is not short Sai Baba's advice to all, and the will stand in good stead both in material and spiritual matters. Sai Baba as Sadguru. There were gurus and gurus. There are many so-called gurus who go about from house to house with cymbals and veena in their hands and make a show of the spirituality. They blow mantras into the ears of their disciples and extract money from them. They profess to teach piety and religion to other disciples, but are themselves impious and irreligious. Sai Baba never thought of making the least show of his worth. Body conscious, he had got great love of his disciples. There are two kinds of gurus, niyat and aniyat. The latter, by their advice, develop the good qualities in us, purify our hearts and set us on the path of salvation. But contact with the former disciple and quality and establishes us the unity by making us realize, though odd, that there are various gurus imparting to us various kinds of worldly knowledge, but he who fixes us in our nature and carries us beyond the ocean of worldly existence is the Sadguru. Sai Baba was such a Sadguru, his greatness is indescribable. If anybody want to take a darshana, he, without being asked, would give every detail of the past, present and future life. He saw divinity in all beings, friends and foes were alike of him, disinterested and equal balanced. He obliged the evildoers. He was the same in prosperity and adversity. No doubt, ever touched him, though he acted in the body, he was not in the least attached to his body or house. Though he looked embodied, he was really disembodied, free in this very life. Blessed are the people of Shirdi who worshipped Sai, their God, while eating, drinking, working in their backyards and fields, and doing various household works. They always remembered Sai and sang his glory. They knew no other God except Sai. What to speak of the love, the sweetness of the love of the woman of Shirdi. They are quite ignorant, but their pure love inspired them to compose poems or songs in their simple rural language. Letters are learning they had none. Still one can discern real poetry in their simple songs. It is not intelligence, but love that inspires real poetry as such. Real poetry is that manifestation of true love, and this can be seen and appreciated by intelligent listeners. Collection of these folk songs is desirable and Baba willing. Some fortune devotee may undertake the task of collecting and publishing the folk songs either in the Sai Leela magazine or separately in a book form. Lord or Bhagavan has said in his 6 qualities: fame, wealth, non-attachment, knowledge, grandeur and liberality. Baba had all these in him. He incarnated in flesh for the sake of bhaktas. Wonderful was his grace and kindness, for he drew the devotees to him, or how else one could have known him. For the sake of his bhaktas, Baba spoke his words, and the goddess of speech dare not utter. He is a specimen. Baba spoke very humbly as follows: Slave of sales, I am your debtor, I am your debtor. I am satisfied at our darshana. It is a great favor that I saw your feet. I am an insect in your excreta. I consider myself blessed thereby. With humility is this? What humility is this? If anybody would think by publishing this, any disrespect is shown to Sai, we beg his pardon, and to atone for we sing and repeat Baba's name. Though Baba seemed outwardly to enjoy sense objects, he had not the least favor to in them, nor even the consciousness of enjoying them. Though he ate, he had no taste, and though he saw, he never felt any interest in what he saw. Regarding passion, he was a perfect celibate as in Hanuman. He was not attached to anything. He was pure consciousness, the resting place of desire, anger and other feelings. In short, he was disinterested, free and perfect. A striking instance may be cited in illustration of this statement. Nanavali, there was a quaint and queer. He looked to Baba work and affairs. He once approached Baba who was seated on his gadi and asked him to get up, as he wanted to occupy the same. Baba at once got up and left the seat, which he occupied after sitting there a while. Nanavali got up and asked Baba to take his back seat. The Baba sat on the seat and Nanavali fell into his feet and then went away. Baba did not show any slightest displeasure in being detected to and ousted. This Nanavali loved Baba so much, and he breath his last on the 13th day of Baba's taking Mahasamadhi. Hearing the stories of the saints of being at the company, though Sai Baba acted outwardly like an ordinary man, his actions show extraordinary intelligence and skill. Whatever he did was done for the good for his devotees. He never prescribed any asana regulation for breathing or any rites to his bhaktas, nor did he blow any mantra into their ears. He told them to leave off cleverness and always remember Sai, Sai. If you did that, he said, all your shackles would be removed and you would be free. Sitting between 5 fires, sacrifice, chantings, 8-fold yoga are possible. For the Brahmins only, they are of no use to other classes. The function of the mind is to think. It cannot remain for a minute without thinking. If we give it a sense object, it will think about. If we give it Guru, it will think about Guru. You have heard most attentively the greatness, grandeur of Sai. This is the natural remembrance, worship and kirtan of Sai. Hearing the stories of saints is not so difficult. As the other sadhanas mentioned above, they remove all fears of the samsara and take you on the spiritual path. So listen to these stories, meditate on them and assimilate them. If this is done, not only the Brahmins, but women and lower classes will get pure and holy. You may do or attend to your worldly duties, but give your mind to Sai's stories and then he is sure to bless you. This is the easiest path, but why do not all take to it? The reason is that without God's grace, we do not get the desire to listen to the stories of saints. With God's grace, everything is smooth and easy. Hearing the stories of saints is a way keeping their company. The importance of the company of the saints is very great. It removes our body consciousness and egoism, destroys completely to chain our birth and death, cuts asunder all the knots of the heart, and takes to God, who with pure conscience it certainly increases our non-attachment to sense objects and make us quite indifferent to pleasures and pains, and lets us onward on the spiritual path. If you have no other sadhana, such as uttering God's name, worship or devotion, etc., but if you take refuge in them wholeheartedly, they will carry you off safely across the ocean of worldly existence. It is for the reason that the saints manifest themselves in the world Even sacred rivers such as Ganga, Godavari, Krishna and Kaveri, etc., which wash away the sins of the world, desire the saints should come to them for a bath and purify them. Such is the grandeur of the saint. It is on account of the store of merit to past birth that we have attained the feet of Sai Baba. We conclude this chapter with meditation of Sai form. He, the beautiful and handsome Sai, is standing on the edge of the masjid and distributing wisdom to each and every bhakta with a view of his welfare. He who thinks the world as an illusion and who is ever engrossed in supreme bliss, before him or humbly prostrate ourselves. Bow to Sri Sai. Peace be to all.